Alright, so the phasor effect with the acrylic rod, here is 0.8, here's 0.6, and I'll show you, here's 0.8, new from the factory, you know, unfrosted. Put it on there, and you do get some light transmitted, and right now the light is dimmed. I'm in my garage. I turn off the lights above me. It's still a little bright. But this looks like a iffy deal. In low light this might work with an LED at both ends, and the reason I'm using blue is just what I had on hand with a flat tip. Maybe a rounded tip. Rounded isn't as wide as a more pronounced point. That might work better. Some different types of LEDs, but right now this isn't. I don't know how well it's showing up, but this doesn't look so good. You can't really see what it looks like on the screen, like it's showing about what it is in real life. It's sort of showing, but not really. But I'm not pleased with this, and I wasn't going to use an 1/8 anyway. This is something that would be used more for like 1400 or 350 or something, not for what I want to use the 2500. But I'm only building a few in 2500. Most of my builds after you know the board cube will be in a larger scale than this. But this is, I guess, okay in low lighting with an LED on both sides. But as it stands right now, not so good. So this is unfrosted, like 1/8 of an inch. Now here is unfrosted, straight from the package, a 1/16. About the same. You know, you move it around, you get the center of the diode, and it gets better. I don't know how close you guys can see this or not, but there's lines in there. You know, when you light up a fiber optic and you see like rings, like tree rings in there sometimes, and sometimes you'll notice your fiber optic isn't lighting. You'll see a bright spot in the fiber itself where it's been kinked. Those rings I'm talking about, you can see those inside this. But it's good for this effect. It looks better than in a fiber. You don't really want those because you want to make sure you get all the light, because those little bends or whatever capture the light. This is about the same. Since it's skinnier, it doesn't look as pronounced, but that's because it's skinnier. But I would assume that this has the same quality, even though it's thinner. And this is kind of more what I want. The 1/16 is actually probably too thick for 2500, but it's adequate. So when I first did this, I had more lights in my garage, and I really didn't like it. It didn't really show too much. So then I frosted. Here's frosted. I frosted with sandpaper. I started with 500, and I didn't get much of an effect. And then I moved to 220. Both the ends are frosted too, and the tube itself. And I tried different directions. I was thinking maybe the striations would help capture the light. Originally I did, you know, conical around it. And I was thinking that would capture like those rings I was talking about. Didn't do anything, wasn't any different. Going long ways, it didn't have any effect. The striations have no effect on it. But the light transmits not as good. So there's frosted. Let me put this back on there. Not frosted. So you can see right here, I'll put them right here. So the non-frosted, the one that's closer to this side, is right over the diode, and you can see it goes all the way up. Here's the frosted right on top of the diode, does not go all the way up. By the way, both of them, especially the non-frosted, the end lights up just like a fiber optic. It's as bright as a fiber optic. So you get that point light, which is what I don't want. So I noticed that when I was doing it, so I frosted the ends of these, both ends, and that didn't help at all. Because I want the light to exist inside the tube itself. Neither thing worked very well. And then it's the same thing with the 1/16. It actually seems to glow a little bit better. So I think the way to go is the non-frosted. And it'll look good in lower light. Non-frosted is the best, but I'm still not crazy about it. LEDs at both ends would look better. This is adequate, but it's only really effective in low lighting. I'm waiting for the CCFLs to come in. CCFLs will definitely light way better than this will, but you can't cut them, you can't change the shape, and I believe, I've never used them, but from what I understand, there's kind of like sort of like end caps at both ends, so you have to kind of be mindful of where you embed that in each one of the ships. So I think the functional aspects of a CCFL will not lend itself to using it as some type of energy weapon effect. I think acrylic tube is the best, although CCFL will work better. I think the only real way to use CCFL for this effect would be like 1400 scale, or certainly 350 scale. That will look really good. The only other thing that I can think of is, instead of acrylic rod, acrylic tube, where it's hollow on the inside. If it was hollow on the inside, I think that would work a lot better. You could do different things because you want the light to bounce around on the inside. That's the problem. No matter how much you scuff out the outside, that's still not the inside. Another thing is, this is extremely bendable. The 1/16th I can do in a almost in a pretzel shape. By bending this, if that creates bendy marks, striations, then it looks like it did a little bit. Then that would help. Oh, I just broke it. So let's see. And you see, there's got to be a way. Let me try something real quick. If I score this, what will that do? They're trying to capture the light. Okay, so where I scored it, I don't know if you can see that or not, it's capturing the light. So that was just the hobby knife haphazardly. There's a coarse file that's almost a rasp. Dude, that's it. Oh, I don't know if that's... Wow. So here's the... Okay, that's a smooth end. So down at the end, that's just what it looks like. This is overexposing, I can tell now looking at the monitor. So it's a little overexposed. Like on the screen of the monitor, that blue looks way more blue than it really is. It's still blue, it's still good. The tip is obviously blue. But right there, you see those rings? Here, let me change angles a little bit. So you see that glowing effect? On the screen, on the monitor, it looks like a glowing effect. In person, it looks like sort of like lines that lends itself to a glowing effect. And that was created just, I don't know if you saw what I was doing with this little file that came with a pneumatic file set. But let me, so this just might be the way, god damn it. Let's see if I can do this real quick. I was actually just trying to do a quick comparison. I was disappointed with the effect. I was going to do a video saying that this was a no-go, and I'm going to wait for the CCFLs. But I guess it got a little darker while I was doing it. And I noticed that the light seemed to look a little bit better, so there's still quite a bit of lights in my garage. It's overcast, and it's in winter, so it's darker earlier. But I got this last light right here. Let me reach up and turn off the overhead lights. Okay, so now that's about as. Let me turn off my open sign too. I got the stupid open sign. Alright, that'll have to do. Okay, so I got a reasonable amount of light off. It's still pretty bright in here. You can see it's still, it looks like, you know, it's dusk-ish, not quite dusk, but it's overcast. So that's how much light's in here. I just scored, what did I do with the file? Okay, my file has been stolen. I just scored this with that little pneumatic file that's now UA. Alright, so now it's uneven and everything because I was just doing it haphazardly. But you can see that scoring really did it. If you look right here, that scoring is on this side. And if you do it, if it's on the back side, if you're looking through the tube, you can still see it on both sides. And it looks better if you're looking through the tube and you see it on the back side. But I'm not doing this for the Borg, the Salt Fleet. You're going to be able to kind of move around a little bit, so it needs to be on all sides. It doesn't look bad. Let me see if I can find one. Okay, so right here, this is in the foreground, the front of the tube. where is it? Let me see. Okay, right there, that's on the back of the tube. We're looking through the tube. You're at a slightly different angle than I am. We're looking through the tube at the back of it, and the light's capturing the back of it. We turn that around. Oh, it's interesting. It's really thin. It's the tube's kind of magnifying it. It looks like it's like, you know, like the whole half of the tube. But when you turn it around, it's just that little tiny piece. Let me try one. Where's my stolen file? Where did you go, file? There we go. I'm going to try this, and I'm going to go all the way around the whole circle, see what that looks like. I'm actually really pleased. When I started this video out, I was pretty bummed out. I had to wait for the CCFLs, and I was pretty positive I was not going to do the CCFLs, because they just, from what I understand, I was watching a Model Man Tom video. They're fragile, they break easy, they're not load bearing. Well, these aren't either, but they're going to have setting these between the Starship and the board cube. There's going to be some kind of force put on them, and I was just concerned that the CCFLs just break too much. And they have weird voltage. I've never used them. I had to have a separate power supply. I'm trying to run all this thing on just basically one plug. I don't want to have multiple. I can put in potentiometers and voltage regulators and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to have like a jillion different plugs. And with CCFLs, I think I might have to. So so what I did is I used the file, the same pneumatic file, just using my hand, not the pneumatic, and I scored all the way around it. Now let's see what that looks like. Let's see. Okay. So, what I'm noticing, what you're seeing, is a super glowing lightsaber. That's not really what it looks like here. Here's the whole tube all the way up, so you see the difference. I only scuffed down here where it's glowing, but it's trapping a lot of light. I think maybe it almost looked better. Let me grab another one before I did all that. Maybe it would even look good if it was just like 1/2, because it magnifies it. But when I was doing that, while I was talking and when I was scoring that acrylic tube, I wasn't just going perpendicular. I was going kind of every which way. So the first time I did it, when I first showed it to you, you saw the striations, you saw the lines, and that looked really good. You saw rings, inside the tube, as if the phasor effect or whatever it's supposed to be, the tractor beam, was going down. There's rings inside the energy discharge. When I just showed you, because I went in all different directions, the rings weren't there, and I don't feel like it captured the light very well. I like the ring effect. So here's this. This is the frosted one. The one I frosted before. That did not look so good. I'm going to try one more thing real quick, and then I'm already pleased with it, and I think I'm going to go with it. I'm going to try this last thing. That's what we determine. I think I need less striations. I think that's the way to go. I'm about to run out of memory card, I think. So let's do this real quick. Okay. You can see that looks a lot better. It's still not very precise. I think if I'm more precise with it, with my striations, it'll look good. This is something I'm going to have to do in a vise with the thing and with the file, and just be more careful with it. But it's going to work. It looks good. It's too